Hello, welcome to episode 37 of the Eldenwood Craft podcast. I'm Emma and this is my channel where I get to talk to you about all the things I've been making since we last met. If you've not been here before, I am a knitter and I'm also the owner of Eldenwood Craft, which is my online shop where I sell handmade project bags and accessories for makers. I'm based in Somerset in the southwest of the UK. Today is Monday the 28th, I think, of March. We're now officially in British summertime, which is brilliant. And all the useful links and the links about things that I've been talking about will be in the description box underneath this video and also in more detail at eldenwoodcraft.com, which is where you'll also find my project bag shop. So in today's episode we have got a little bit of admin. I've got a prize winner to announce from the Starlight Cowl giveaway from the last podcast. I've got 4 finished objects to show you, 2 works in progress I think, and a little bit of shop news. If I haven't been going on for too long, I will also share what I've been reading because I have brought those with me today, but I want to really keep this to under about 45 minutes, so we'll see how we go. Okay, so I'm going to get straight on with the admin, and the first item on today's agenda is the winner of the Starlight Cowl. Now, Hannah, who is the designer behind Yarnia Designs, very kindly donated a copy of her most recent pattern, which is the Starlight Cowl. I have a version of it here to talk about later, but this is it. It's looking a bit worse for wear because I have been wearing it, which is a good thing. But this is the Starlight Cowl. Got hair on it. And I asked you to leave a comment in the comments of my previous video about what your favourite musical was. There was a link. You have to go back and watch the last video to see what it was. And I have just pulled a winner. I used the comment picker website to pull a winner from the comments, and that winner is Heather Anderson. So congratulations, Heather. Heather's favourite musicals were Phantom, Les Mis, which I love, and The Music Man, which I have neither seen nor heard of. And also Hannah said that Starlight was a very appropriately named pattern because that is also the name of her cat. So Heather, I think you are a very deserved winner with all of that. So if you send me a message either by email, DM me on Instagram, or leave me a message via Ravelry. All the links will be down below, and I will pass on your details to Hannah. If you leave me your Ravelry address, and if you don't have that, an email address, that would be great. We might just have to be a little bit patient because Hannah has just given birth to her first baby. So Hannah, I don't know if you're going to be watching this. You might be far too busy, but congratulations. But yeah, so there might be a little delay before Hannah can get round to passing on a copy of her pattern to you, Heather, but it will get to you. In other admin news, just a brief mention about the make-along, the year-long make-along that we're running on the channel. It's the Eldenwood Craft Make 9 for 2022. All the details are on my website in the show notes, and you have until the close of play on Thursday, which is the end of the month, to enter any finished objects into the finished object thread on Ravelry, and I will draw a prize for the first quarter's entries when I record again. If you can't use Ravelry, you can use the hashtag on Instagram ECMNFO22, and if you forget that, it's in the show notes, so don't worry. And if you're neither on Ravelry nor Instagram, you can always email me a picture of your finished object and which category it relates to in your Make 9, and I will make sure that you're included in the prize draw. So that's all the admin that I wanted to run through. Now we're on to the really important stuff, the making. So I will run through my finished objects first. As I said at the beginning, I've got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all quite little dinky ones. So shall we start off with Hannah's Starlight Cowl? I'll show it to you again. Here it is. I really enjoyed making this. The yarn that I used were leftovers from my Loom Wool advent calendar from last year. I used them originally to make a litmus cowl, which I shared on my last episode, and then Hannah's pattern came through, and I thought I would use them for that as well. And I think these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colours go really nicely together. I have got my hair all over them. I do apologise. Made a little bit of a boo-boo. I didn't go down a needle size at this end. The rib at this end requires you to use a smaller needle size than the body of the cowl, and also at this end as well, which I did do. But when it's on your neck, you don't really notice. So there we go, that's the Starlight Cowl by Yarnia Designs. I really like it. It's a nice, it's knit in fingering weight yarn, and it's a nice lightweight cowl. So it's really good for this time of year, although we have been having a little bit of a mini summer in March. So I haven't really needed it, but yeah, it has been getting a lot of use. So if you are into knitting cowls or want to explore knitting cowls, this is a nice straightforward pattern. Yeah, I don't think I've got a lot else to say about that really. Oh, yes, so I made a little modification to it. Hannah's original pattern is for certainly a wider cowl, and possibly it has more stripes on it as well, but I reduced it because I quite like a smaller cowl. So yeah, that's the Starlight Cowl. Right, the next item is a hat. I should have gone hat, cowl, and then further on the body, but hey. So this is the Midas Hat. It's a pattern by Reinbach. I have knit a Midas hat before and I've worn it a lot, so I was always going to knit a second one, and I have knit it using a Lay Family Yarns fingering weight yarn. I can't remember the name of it, but it's from Kelly's Ironbridge collection. So that's the main element of the hat, but the design of the hat calls for a sort of a double brim. So I knit this first part of the hat. Can't remember which yarn that was, but you basically cast on using a provisional cast on. It's a free pattern, by the way, so I'm not giving away any secrets. You cast on using a provisional cast on, you knit for so many rows, you then do a little purl row so you know where to turn the brim, and then you just knit all the way up to the decrease section, which you can see there. And yeah, I really like this style of hat, rather than a brim that folds up that way or a ribbed brim. This sort of, I don't know, it just seems to feel right for my head. What else can I say about that? Not much really. It's just a really good, easy, free pattern. Didn't take very long at all. I think I knit it up in maybe a couple of weeks. I don't get a lot of knitting time, just maybe an hour or so in the evenings and half an hour here or there in the morning. So for me, a couple of weeks is quite a quick knit. There will be a third one of these at some point on the needles because I really like it that much. So that's the Midas Hat, patterned by Reinbach, knit out of Lay Family Yarns, Ironbridge yarn. I don't know if the camera caught just the really beautiful speckling on there and all the different rust colours that reflect the bridge in Ironbridge. It's really lovely yarn. Okay, racing through this, aren't we? So the next two finished objects are both socks. I have popped one of each on a blocker. The first one is this beauty, which is a crunkled sock. There's the second one, just for proof that I have finished both of them. So the crunkled sock is another pattern that I've knit before. It's by Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears. The yarn that I've used, is it focusing? The yarn that I've used is Birdstreet yarn. Let's find the ball band. Here we go. So, Birdstreet yarn, and the colourway is Walking in the Air. It's a 75/25 superwash merino nylon, and it's absolutely beautiful. You can see why it's called Walking in the Air. This yarn was a gift to me from Alice, who I did my who I did an advent swap with last year, and I showed this on my previous episode and said, I think I said that I would probably knit a pair of socks from it, and I did. Now the pattern is usually top down. I chose to knit it toe up. I don't know why I did that, because I much prefer knitting top down, cuff down, but I knit it toe up. I used the German short row heel from Alice Jeffrey's, oh, I made a note of this, Alice Jeffrey's pattern that I showed you in my last episode, which was Be the Light sock. So I did a German short row heel. Usually I prefer a heel flap and gusset, and then did a 2x2 cuff. Unless it's absolutely necessary, I don't intend to knit many more toe up socks. I much prefer the cuff down knitting process. But you never know, there probably will be the odd toe up sock in my future, but yeah, these are really nice, really pretty. I love the colourway, and I shall put these into circulation now. Oh, I should say I did a 60 stitch cast on rather than the 64 stitches that are in the pattern, and just modified the pattern so that it fit the front of my foot, front of my leg. Didn't do the pattern on the back of my leg, but yeah, 60 stitches seems to be the best fit of cast on for me. So my fourth and final finished object is another sock. Here it is. This is a plain vanilla sock knit from Loom Wool, from the main skein from the advent from last year. I will show you the ball band. Here we go. It's called Fairy Lights, and it's a high twist superwash merino nylon 80/20. This is what I have left. I think these socks took up about 60 grams. I have used I did one of those things where you knit the very first row in a contrast colour, and I also did a contrast heel flap and gusset, and you may recognise that yarn because it's the same yarn I used for my Midas hat. So I cast on 60 stitches. I did a 1x1 rib. I knit 30 stitches for the leg, heel flap and gusset, and then a total of 80 stitches from the heel from the end of the heel flap to where I start the toes, and I just did a simple wedge toe. They are finished. You can see I've still got the ends to weave in, and here's the other ends. Lots of them. And there is also this little terror to deal with. As I was finishing the toes yesterday, I found that I had a drop stitch that was too far down to deal with by picking it up as I was knitting, so I will I'll deal with that when I sew the ends in at some point. Yeah, just a really nice simple sock. It's beautiful wool, beautiful colourway. I don't usually knit with pink, as you will know if you have been a long-term viewer, but this is just gorgeous. Lovely speckling. It's a bit of a sort of a grubby pink. There must be a, I don't know, a grey undertone to it. I don't really understand about colours for yarn dyeing, but I just really like this. So yeah, I will pop these into circulation once I have sewn in the ends. Anything else to tell you on that one? Oh, there is something really exciting to tell you about this. This pair of socks was my 50th pair of socks that I have knit. Many of them are now dispensed with because they've had holes and that were not really repairable. But I've got a fairly big box of socks in my sock drawer, so maybe one day I'll give you a rundown of my favourite socks that I've knit. That might be something nice to do. Okay, that's it for finished objects. On to works in progress, and I have two to share with you, one small, one big. So let's start with the small one. Sitting in one of my bags. This is a subscriber special bag that I have offered to my newsletter subscribers, and I really like this shape of bag. It's got a lovely round bottom, so it opens up a bit like a bucket, and it's really nice to sit and knit out of. I'll be bringing this size of round bottom bag to my shop with my next update, but I have got some larger versions of this round bottom bag in my current update, which I'll share with you at the end of this episode. Right, this pattern that I am knitting, I cast this on Saturday, because I needed some knitting. As I finished my socks on Saturday morning, I needed I needed a project to take away with me this weekend. I had a fun weekend away with my university friends in Worcester. The sun was shining and we had a lovely weekend. Just dropped my yarn on the floor, which is no surprise. Right, so this project is a hat. Looks very small, but it should work out. I'm knitting the Musselburgh hat, which is a pattern by Ysolda Teague. It's a really clever hat, which I'll explain in a minute. I'm using two yarns that have been left over from other projects. The first one that you can see is this gorgeous yarn from Giddy Yarns, Helen at Giddy Yarns, in her Indiana Jones colourway. It's one of Helen's fabulous self-striping yarns. And the other yarn that I'm using, which hasn't been used yet, is this undyed merino yak nylon, which is yarn that I used in my litmus cowl that I shared with you last time. They're both fingering weight yarns. And the Musselburgh hat, you may well have seen it on other people's podcasts, or you may have knit one yourself. It's very popular at the moment. I've seen it on lots of people's podcasts, and it's popular for good reason. The basic premise behind the hat is it's knit from the top down rather than the bottom up, which is how hats traditionally are knit, or normally knit, as far as I've seen anyway. And you start with a small, I can't remember how it's described. It's like a small circular cast on. So that was a new skill that I learnt. I used the disappearing loop method of creating this cast on, which creates a very nice, neat cast on cast on middle, and then you increase at set places for a set number of increases. And as you're knitting, the designer, Ysolda, gets you to measure your gauge. She doesn't tell you what needle to use, she doesn't tell you what weight of yarn to use. The camera cut out there just as I was getting into my stride about how the hat is knit. So yeah, the designer doesn't tell you what needle to use, she doesn't tell you what yarn to use. You are just instructed to pick up needles, pick up yarn and knit a fabric that you like. And once you can measure your gauge, she then provides you with instructions of how many increases you need to make, how many stitches should be in between the increases and that sort of thing, and that's how your hat grows. It's really clever, really straightforward, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a very mindless round and round knit now. I've got past the increase stage. You see there are 4 increase points. And then what you do, the hat basically grows to a set point. I'm actually shortening mine to be the same length as my Midas hat. The pattern provides for a much longer hat because the intention is that you turn the brim up and have a double brim, but I prefer not to have that on my hats. But you knit to a certain point, and then what many people do is they change colour and have a second half of the hat in a different colour. So that's what I'm going to do. And then you turn the hat, you turn one side of the hat inside the other side of the hat, so you have a double layer of hat all the way through. And you can, it's reversible, so you can wear this side of the hat or you can wear the other side of the hat. I hope I explained that clearly. You could knit it all out of one skein of yarn. My size, I can get a full skein of yarn, a hat out of one skein. I think there may be one size of hat or 2 sizes that need slightly more than one skein of yarn, but that's manageable. So yeah, it's a really, really clever hat, and assuming it fits nicely and I enjoy wearing it, I can see myself making more of these. It's going to look very similar to the Midas hat in terms of it's just straight plain knitting, but as we all know, I enjoy that hat, so hopefully this will be a hat that I similarly enjoy. What else can I tell you? Oh, so because there are no instructions for what needle size to use, I can tell you what I'm using. I'm using a 3.25mm needle. I'm using Chalgoose with a nice red cord, 3.25mm. But yeah, you can use any needle that you like. If you know that you get a nice gauge or a nice fabric out of a certain type of size of needle on a particular type of weight, then go for that. Anyway, I think that's all I can tell you about this lovely hat. It should be finished for my next episode, I would have thought, so I will share it again then. Right, my final finished object for today is a bigger one. It's one that you haven't seen before. It's sitting in one of my new I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a lorry reversing outside. It might be a delivery for us. My husband is in the office today, and he said last night that there will be a delivery. Let's just wait and see. I hope not. Anyway, so I was telling you, this is one of my new bags. It's from my leaf collection. It has a round bottom. The ones in the shop have got a really nice red base, and I'll show you that later. I won't go on about this. And I am knitting a new sweater, and it's the there's not a lot to see really, it's very dark. I'm knitting the Flax Light. I'm knitting it out of lovely Drops Nord in the dark grey colourway, number 6. I absolutely love this yarn. I've used it for quite a few things. It's nice and cheap. It's £2.30 a ball from Wool Warehouse, and I think I'm going to need about 7 or 8 for a full length, full sleeved sweater, so it's really good value. It has a lovely softness to it. I can't say enough good things about this yarn. So it's the Flax Light is a pattern by Tin Knits. There are, I checked just before I came on, there are over 12,000 projects on Ravelry. If you haven't heard about the sweater, it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a really good beginner sweater, but it's also a really good wardrobe staple. Just a little bit about how it's knit. It's free, so I'm not going to be giving away any secrets with this either. You start with you cast on for the neckline. The pattern gets you to pick up stitches later on to finish the neckline off, so I haven't done that yet, but there will be ribbing around the neck. It's a raglan shaped garment, sweater. I don't know if you'll be able to see the raglan increases. There we go. Split for the sleeves, and then you just knit all the way down to the bottom. The pattern talks you through either a cropped length or a full length, I think. I'm sure it does. And then you do a rib for the bottom, and then pick up stitches around the pick up stitches for the sleeves, and it has a slightly tapered sleeve. I haven't finished the bottom yet. I think I've got to where I want the rib to start. I have tried it on, and I think it's going to be okay, but I just wanted to knit at least one of the sleeves first so I could sort of get the proportions, make sure they were okay before I finished the rib off. Where's my bag? Where's my bag? So let's see if I can find a skein of, I haven't got an unopened skein of Drops Nord in my bag, but there it is. That's how it comes. The makeup of the yarn, if you don't know, there's the ball band, and it's a 45% alpaca, 30% polyamide, 25% wool. It comes in 50-gram balls, and you get 170 meters to 50 grams. So it's a sport weight. So the pattern is for fingering weight yarn. There's a flax version of the pattern as well, which is for heavier weight yarn. But I've just gone for this. If it's slightly oversized, it doesn't bother me at all. Let me tell you about this little nifty tool. You may well have seen these. This comes from Beautiful Knitters, and it's a kit for putting stitches on hold, so you can try your items on. So when I tried this on, I took my needles out of the bottom of my garment and replaced them with this long cord. Very clever. You pop your needle onto the end, it secures really easily, and then you just pull this through. It's plenty long enough for the base of a sweater. You get 2 smaller ones as well. There are 2 in here, I did check. For smaller circumferences, and it comes with these little stoppers as well, so you can slip those on the end of your cord. I normally use a thicker piece of cotton to put my stitches on hold, but these work really well and they're much easier. The full length of my the bottom of my sweater, it took me 30 seconds to put onto the cord and to take off again, so really quick. Normally with a piece of cotton you find yourself going for ages trying to put it on. So yeah, that was really good. So that was from Beautiful Knitters. So yeah, so this should be finished next time I record. I started it in mid-February. Haven't picked it up for a couple of weeks actually, but yeah, I think now that I'm heading towards the denouement of the sweater, I think I might just pick this up again and finish that off. Not much else I can say about that. So yeah, that's the Flax Light. It's editing Emma here. As I was tidying everything away after recording the podcast, I realised that I had totally forgotten to show you something that I received over the last month. I put it in the wrong box. I've not put it in my podcast box, I put it in my yarn box. But I do really want to share these with you. I did a swap excuse me, with Shannon from Blue Fern Yarns. Shannon is a beautiful yarn dyer. I'll pop her details below. So we did a swap, and I was the lucky recipient of these 2 bundles of minis. So these are from Shannon's palette collections. This was the January palette set, and this was the February. So Shannon provides an inspiration picture and dyes up 5 minis each month that represent that picture. And I just think those are absolutely beautiful. I've seen the March ones as well, they're gorgeous. And have I seen the April one? I can't quite remember. But yeah, I just really wanted to share these with you. These are going to, I think, possibly become a litmus cowl, although I've seen another striped cowl that I really like. And I might use these for said cowl. But yeah, I could not let the podcast go without sharing these. I thought, oh, shall I keep them until next time as I found them? But no, I want to share these with you today. So coming just back in very quickly as I'm editing to show you these. Lovely, thanks Shannon. Okay, so now that the knitting is finished, let me share with you just quickly some books that I've been reading this year. So at the beginning of the year, my daughter and I set myself a challenge to read 13 books this year. Now that doesn't sound like a huge amount to some of you, but you know, when you're a knitter you can't always find the time to read. So 13 books seems like a doable amount for me. It's just over one a month. So far I have just finished 3, so I'm almost up to where I should be. So the first book that I finished was this amazing book, The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. So it's a story about Alice who marries a young American. She moves from England to Kentucky where his family are based, and she meets a group of other women and they run a travelling library, and it's all about their relationships, the challenges that are faced. I think it's set in the Depression. It's just a brilliant book. Shall I read you the back? It just says, Alice Wright marries handsome American Bennett Van Cleve, hoping to escape her stifling life in England. She doesn't much care for her domineering father-in-law or the judgmental townsfolk of Baileyville, Kentucky. Restless and misunderstood, she yearns for escape and adventure, finding it in the defiant and unlikely sisterhood who bring books to the isolated and vulnerable of the wilderness. But when her father-in-law and the town suddenly turn against them, Alice fears she'll lose her freedom, friendships and the chance of unexpected love. It's a beautiful story. I cried in places, so that's always a sign of a good book for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed that and I would read that again, so recommend that. The second book that I finished was this, The Other Bennet Sister. Again, really enjoyed this. It's the story of Lydia, who's the middle Bennet sister from Pride and Prejudice, and she was the sister in the original Jane Austen, who didn't really have a story, and the author Janice Hadlow has now given her a story, and it's so well told. It's set in three distinct parts. I won't spoil it, but it shares the Lydia that we know from Pride and Prejudice, but then it takes you way beyond that. And I really was rooting for Lydia. I really liked the way that her character was developed. And I raced through this. It's quite a big book, 600 odd pages. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Very easy to read, entertaining. Lydia was a great character. So if you love Pride and Prejudice, you will like this. Quite similar in its, there's another book that I read a few years ago called Longbourn by Jo someone, can't remember. And that was about, I can't quite remember what that was about, but again, it was a Pride and Prejudice setting. I preferred this one. Yeah, so The Other Bennet Sister. And then this morning, I just finished this, very different, Song of Achilles. So it's a retelling of Achilles' story from the Iliad by Homer, and it's about his relationship with Patroclus, I think that's how you say it. My daughter really wanted me to read it. I think she said this is possibly the best book she's ever read. It's by Madeline Miller. Yeah, and it's about the development of Patroclus and Achilles' relationship. It's about the war in the Trojan Wars. I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't quite getting all the hype about it. And then I got to the end and I thought, oh my goodness me, that was so good. Just this morning, this morning, last night, I was finishing it off and it just suddenly hit me what a great story it was. It's quite a straightforward read. The only difficult thing I found about it, and this is a problem that I have, unfamiliar names. So there's lots of names of gods and so on. I really struggled to hold those in my brain, so I had to keep going back to work out, oh, who was that and who was that and where do they fit in. But yeah, the realisation this morning about how much I actually enjoyed this, it was funny, just struck me. So yeah, that's The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. So all three of those books I would highly recommend if you're looking for something new to read. And I have just started this morning when I finished that, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. It's a reread for me. I read this when I was much younger. I cannot remember very much about it. I obviously know the premise behind it. I didn't watch the TV series. And again, this is another one that my daughter pulled out for me. She did English literature for A-level and they studied this. I wish we'd studied something like this when I did English literature. What did we did Emma, we did the Canterbury Tales, we did oh, I can't remember. All quite heavy stuff. Not that this isn't heavy, but anyway. But yeah, so she gave me this for Christmas, and she put this little note in it that she said, I've outlined some of my favourite and best quotes. So there are little markings throughout the book where she's put some commentary about why she enjoyed particular bits and what the most standout bits were her for. So I'm really looking forward to that. As many of you will know, my daughter's away at university at the moment, so this is like a little connection that I've got with her. So yeah, The Handmaid's Tale, I'm really looking forward to reading that again and remembering what it was all about. I think I'll probably understand it a bit more as I read it this time. So there we go, that's the book segment. Now the only other thing I've got to share with you is some news about my most recent shop update. So I updated my shop with 2 new collections on Friday just gone. I have got a number of bags that are ready to ship, and when those are sold out, then I have got options for making to order on all of the bags. So the 2 collections are the Tree of Life collection, which is this beautiful Dashwood studio print, and the Leaf collection, which really resonated with me. It sort of feels like a nice springtime, bright, bold leaf pattern that feels right for this time of year. So I've got them available in all sizes that I stock in my shop. If I just run through those with you. So we have got Notions pouches. We have got, I've got 2 sizes of small bags. So these small bags in the Tree of Life collection, they're box bottoms, and these are really good for one skein projects like socks and hats. I'm bringing a second type of small bag to my shop, just something really basic and functional. No box bottom, just a very flat, unboxed, slightly bigger size, but again good for single skein projects. I just wanted something that I could fold down into my bag, into any bag really easily, and these pop inside nicely so you can coordinate your collection. So those are the small bags. Then I've got my everyday size bag in both fabrics. So these are good for up to 3 skeins of yarn. Box bottom, handle. There it is in the Tree of Life. And then the larger size is the midi, again available in both. Now these are 2 different styles of midi. The Tree of Life bag is the more traditional boxed bottom. These fit up to 6 skeins of yarn. So they're good for large shawls, small sweaters, a couple of small projects. They come with a, I don't know if you'll be able to see that there's a couple of pockets inside and a handle. And then in the Leaf collection, I've brought the midi size as a round, the round bottom version. And they are really nice and big in size. These fit up to 8 skeins of yarn. I really like this size. As you saw, I've been using this for my Flax Light, and it works really well. So this will be a regular sized bag in my shop. And if I can just reach over here, I have got one more bag to share with you. And this is also a new bag. It's only available in the Leaf collection, but a few people had asked for tote bags to come back to the shop, and so I have brought out this boxy tote. It fits easily 10 skeins of fingering weight yarn with room to spare. It's got a nice big base. It's nicely padded. It has a large slip pocket inside. And yeah, I really like that size. It'll be really good for large projects, sweaters and blankets, and also taking to knit night with a couple of projects and some skeins of yarn and your notions. And it comes with these lovely soft cotton handles. This is the same handle that I use on all of my bags. I like to think it's sort of a step up from your traditional webbing and herringbone cotton handles. It's really soft. Yeah, I really like that. So that's the boxy tote. Okay, I will be bringing my sheep back to the shop. Shall I just show you one of my sheep? So my sheep bags are without a doubt my most popular bags. I had an update at the beginning of March. I let my newsletter subscribers know in advance when these bags are coming to the shop. So if you're interested in getting a sheep bag and haven't managed to get one yet, then I do recommend signing up to my newsletter. The sheep bags come in 2 different sheep prints. This is the first one in the midi size, and this is the second sheep print, again in the midi size. And then it also comes as an XL size. Fab, isn't he? I love him. Despite, I don't know how many of these I've made, hundreds over the last few years, he's still brilliant. I still think he's a handsome old soul. I am going to be slightly tweaking the XL size. You won't be losing any capacity. I just need to make a little tweak to the shape of it so that it fits better with our small parcel postage sizes. And I'm going to go over to the same cream handles that I use for all my other bags. He has a nice cream canvas on the back. I think I'm going to go over to the cream handles. I don't know. I'll have a think about that. Anyway, so that's all my shop news. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much for watching, if you've watched all the way to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment. Why don't you let me know what you've been working on while you've been watching? I always like to get new ideas for projects. What else to say? Nothing really. I hope to be back way sooner than I was between my last podcast and this one. I should be back in April to draw the winner of the Q1 Make 9 Make Along prize, and to hopefully show you a finished Musselburgh hat and a finished Flax Light and whatever else I've been working on. So until then, keep well, happy making, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.